So I've covered primary forms, blockout, secondary forms. Maybe we can touch a bit on micro detailing, right? So at this stage, when you have your all your secondary forms done, you want to create a separate layer so that I keep all my alpha stamping on a separate layer. We can use some alphas, and let's see, these are the ones that come default with ZBrush. They're great. So I'm going to use that. And then you can use different stroke modes. There's spray, right? You know, or you can do it like that. It gives it a nice texture to it. All right. And when I'm doing this, I want to bear in mind what forms are skin, what forms are bone. So I'm thinking maybe majority of this can definitely be skin, but it should transition to like a bone-like structure. So maybe all of that should be bony. And then if you want to do stuff like wrinkles, you create a separate layer. And then let's find a nice wrinkle map. And you can use the dots mode. That's going to let you, oops, select it again.
You got another question way back here in the corner, live on the floor.
Tango. You know, I want to be really subtle with this because it's really easy to go nuts with the design. And then once you have a stamp like that, right, you can just manually touch up using the Damon standard brush. You want some of that wrinkle to read more than the others, and then perhaps even go in with the gravity brush and start weighing some of that form down. Right? Doing it manually like this gives it an added realism. And then even if you go a little bit too harsh, you know, you feel like it isn't working, you can always blend. Right? I can halve the intensity. You know, I can turn it back on and then work on it again. Right? So this layering system is how I create a micro detail. And what I usually do is I have a layer for each kind of detail. I have a layer for pores, I have a layer for wrinkles, I have a layer for like asymmetrical stuff. Like let's say he has a scar over here, right? I have a layer for that. Or maybe he has a huge pimple here, right? Because he's going through puberty, I guess. He's a young creature. And then once you're done with all the detail, you want to create another layer. And even with layers, you can step down, right? You can work on lower subdivision levels. You can step down and then start offsetting the symmetry, because that's the biggest giveaway when you're working with something digital, is that everything is symmetrical. So that's when you slowly nudge forms around. You know, maybe he's like that. And then maybe one eyelid is higher than the other. And it's even good to just grab like a big brush and just nudge everything. You know, and because you have that on a separate layer, you don't have to worry about not being able to work on it again with symmetry. Because, I'll show you guys in just a bit. Because that's on a separate layer, I can turn that off, right? And I can keep working on this, and then I can turn it back on again, right? And then the last thing would be to pose it. Again, I do this on a separate layer. Save, make sure it saves. But yeah, posing is pretty straightforward, man. Just drop it down. Before you do that, you want to make sure that every subtool has a layer. And this is the annoying part, but it's going to take really quick.
We're going to take one more question here and then get Dominic in the back room. Here's your question from the floor.
Earlier, you
Take it easy, man. No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, no, really.
It's all
And
right.
also the world, so, yeah.
Yeah.
When you're bringing your meshes or models into a game engine, how do you get around the UVs? Are you using PTEX?
Actually, for concept, if I needed UVs, I would just unwrap it in ZBrush using UV Master, and then I can rotate my UVs in UV Master as well, and then I'll just export it as a texture in ZBrush. And if you need like very specific UV layout, what you can do is just use UV Master. That gives you a good base to work with, and then bring all of that UVs over to a program like Max or Maya and just touch up the UVs over there. So let's say I'm happy with that pose. What? ZapTool Master. It's the best program ever. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys can see, like, within 1 hour, I'm able to quickly concept a creature bus, right? It's not the most detailed creature, but if I were to bring this into a renderer, render it, do several passes on it, bring it to Photoshop, I can really make it something that's production worthy, has a concept.